What's up? This is David, and today I want to talk to you about how to frame your high-ticket coaching offer so people value it more. And I call this the shoe dog effect. And this has taken hundreds of hours and tens of thousands of dollars to understand this, so please pay attention. Okay, so this is crucial to understand in creating value for your offer, okay? And some people call it the earned it framing. I just like to call it the shoe dog effect because I named it after Phil Knight here, and he's the founder of Nike. And after reading this book called Shoe Dog, incredible book, by the way, highly recommended, it makes you believe in the story of Nike, dude. It really makes you believe in a Nike. And the reason is like he shows how he earned the Nike story. And before reading, like I wasn't like the biggest fan of Nike. I was just like, Nike, you know, it's a cool brand, I guess. But when you hear like his roller coaster rides of his life on how he was trying to, you know, make Nike into what it is today, and his like humble beginnings, and how he had like so many hurdles and near failures Nike had to go through, like it makes you respect the brand. It makes you respect Nike. And now after reading that book, I became like a super fan. In fact, like I bought some pieces of like Nike clothing and like shoes after I read that book. You know what I mean? Because he made me like a big believer. And here's the crazy part. He sold me, Phil Knight sold me on Nike without selling me. Like there wasn't a single CTA in the book, right? But I still bought his stuff. Why? Because he altered my belief, right? He altered my belief. And of course, he framed it in a way where he earned the story. So some stories of Nike is like Nike, for the longest time, they were playing like what Phil calls like the float, right? And so pretty much what they were borrowing money from the bank to stay alive, right? So like 90%, like all of their money was in debt. And then out of nowhere, the bank freaking freezes their account, right? And then now they can't like pay for the manufacturing, and they need the shoes to stay alive, right? So there was like this crazy saga with like the bank, and then they were looking for like other banks and like raising capital. It's like amazing stories, like incredible. And then like another time, like their old manufacturer, like they sent them a letter saying that they were being sued, right? Even though they didn't really do anything wrong, like the manufacturers were the ones that breached the contract. And then they had like this whole like court saga going on. It was like crazy. And then another was like they got an unexpected letter in the mail from US Customs saying that they owed them like $25 million, which would instantly make them bankrupt. So they had like all these like everything on the line moments. And so, you know, here's like a picture of like old Phil Knight here. But when you see how they earned it, how like the story of like their ups and downs and how much effort they put in to make the brand what it is today, you start to believe in the movement. You start to value Nike. You start to value the brand. You start to value whatever it is that they're putting in front of you, right? So showing people how you earned it, it manufactures belief. Okay, manufactures value, right? So if they don't know what's at stake, it's hard to get excited about a story, or it's hard to get excited about like your offer, whatever your coaching offer is, right? And then I remember Russell Brunson, and here's Russell to the left here. He had an example where he had a story of how he was like sharing a concept with an audience, right? And then, you know, it like took him years to develop this concept, but then like most of it brushed it off as like kind of unimportant, right? And then one time he got like super frustrated, and he was like, "Do you not understand what I gave you? You know what I had to go through to earn this?" And then he spent like 15 minutes like telling them the pain, the money, the time he spent, and then being like a human guinea pig and doing all these kinds of tests to make sure that this thing worked, right? And all the iterations he had to go through to make it good. And then it was after this framing, you know, after this earned it framing, the shoe dog effect, he would explain again what he previously shared, and then this time they finally understood that value, right? Because that means in their heads, like getting this concept now, it means like they're saving themselves pain and suffering and time and energy, right? That Russell had to go through, you know, to like get it for them, to provide this for them, right? So this framing creates value. it creates value. The shoe dog effects, it creates value out of nothing, really, because you're giving context for the value to live in. So it's best if you say it before you present an offer so that people understand the value of it, right? So my example is I created this training and then took hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars to learn and to dissect it and to simplify it, and then of course to create it, right? And then tested it, experimented, and then just when I presented it without that context, it was crickets. So it was like crickets chirping, right? It was okay, that's cool. It's kind of like, when you say a story, or when somebody says a story and they're like, cool story, bro. So people thought of it like that. They were like, cool story, bro. So, but when I added in the context and, how I explained how many hours it took, and it took hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars to do this, and I tested and experimented so you can get something good, then it's people started resonating with it, and it was a lot more receptive because people understood the value now. People understood the value, and people became a lot more receptive, right? So whenever you can, when presenting some kind of offer, see that the people can see the value so that they can appreciate it more, so that they can understand the value. Okay, so that is the Earned It framework, what I like to call the shoe dog effect. So if you are an established online coach watching this and want to learn more about marketing and scaling without doing the sales calls, then please subscribe for more. And I think the content that I can provide is super fun, super relatable, and can help you get more clients, more profits, and more freedom in your high ticket coaching business. So please subscribe, and I'll see you in another video.